centers or anything. That's their investment here locally that creates jobs, and that's a direct investment into our economy. The second part is a $17 million expansion, and I think that's what we're discussing here is just this abatement would be for 10 years for a total of about $775,000, of which, due to the revenue cap, is we really wouldn't see the benefit of those monies directly to our direct city coffers because we're pushing up on the rev cap. So, I think that's something to consider as we look at this particular abatement. And that's where the decision that they had to make was, do we expand here in Houston, or do we just simply do our renovation and go on about our business, or do we do our expansion in Shelbyville, Indiana? To do it here in Houston would cost them approximately $1 million more. Hence, that's where the $775,000 of tax abatement comes in over 10 years. So I think that's important because, again, that creates additional full-time jobs. It helps keep those dollars here in our economy. And we also help support a great corporate citizen here that's been in business for over 60 years. So that's why I'm supporting. I see it as two separate projects where they're making a major investment already, and this just helps close the gap to help get the expansion done here in Houston. Thank you.
Councilmember Bradford.
Thank you. I'd like to go back to Councilmember Laster's point of inquiry in that what are the abatement requirements, and has Kroger demonstrated a compliance of such? In Councilmember Laster's commentary, he talks about the but-for element, and the Mayor Pro Tem has also alluded to possibly a $75,000 abatement per year over a 10-year period. And the question of job retention, 300 jobs being retained and 15 jobs being newly created, and Councilman Laster raised the question whether job retention is credited and should it count. And quite frankly, I'll acknowledge on the record, dealing with budget issues and etc., I have not had an opportunity to read section 311.202. In the RCA, it does indicate, quote, contribute to the retention or expansion of primary employment. So I'm referring to someone who has in fact looked at the code, 312.202, and asking the question, does retention count? Is it to be credited, or is it just new?
I'm going to have someone else answer that question, sir.
Okay.
Yes, retention does count as well.
Okay, thank you, because I didn't have time to look at the code. Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Councilmember Collins.
Thank you, Mayor. I very much agree with Mayor Pro Tem. And I think what happens is we're getting up into tangential issues. And we really need to look at the substance of what we're being asked to vote for. Because if you balance what Councilmember Green said and others, that certain districts are suffering because grocery stores are pulling out, but you balance that against the responsibility of Kroger's and other public companies to their investors, you have to look at that as a business, and you have to look at the substance of it. And I also think in terms of the but-for issue, as I understand, I mean, if you read what the but-for means, it's absolutely not concrete. I mean, there are but-fors that are somewhat flexible. And but for that flexibility, Councilmember Laster, we have to balance it. So I think what Kroger's has done is commendable, and I think from a pragmatic business standpoint, what they're asking for is reasonable. Thank you.
Councilmember Wynn.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief Bradford mentioned 300 jobs, retention. Whether it's retention or it's new to me, it's still 300 jobs that we're saving, meaning 300 jobs that are not lost, meaning 300 families will be financially stable, plus that extra 15 jobs, meaning 15 more families will be prospering. So my question is, if not here, where else we'll be losing a great corporate entity here in this city? And I'll be supporting this. Thank you.
There are no other council members in the queue, so we'll move to.
Yes, I just,
Councilmember Bradford.
thank you. I just want to clarify a point. To my colleague, Councilman Wynn. My point was to ensure compliance with the law. I mean, we may feel good and want to keep the 300 jobs, et cetera, but if we don't meet the requirements of the law, that's the point I was making. And the city attorney has gone on record saying that the but-for test has been met, and I'm clearly convinced with retention of 300 being part of the but-for test, we're in compliance with the law. That's the point I want to make. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilmember Lasker.
Thank you, Mayor, and I would just make one other point. In my perspective, even though retention certainly matters, I just don't envision a practical reality that a major distribution center is going to be closed down in this area. So the retention doesn't hold quite the amount of value that it otherwise might. You cannot sustain and support a series of stores in an area without a distribution center. We were not going to lose the 300 jobs, in my opinion. So therefore, it comes down to whether the 15 jobs are exactly enough. The tax abatement is so small in the sense of $70,000 a year, it begs the question as to whether that abatement is absolutely necessary for the investment of the money that Kroger will put in its expanded distribution center to service its stores. So therefore, I would continue to not support this particular item. Thank you, Mayor.
Now there are no other council members in the queue. We will move to a vote on item 73, Councilmember Christie. Favoring, opposed, item carries with Councilmember Green and Councilmember Lasker voting no.